All right, members of the Coach Gang, we are in what we call, I guess you can say, CGA's toy room, CGA's playhouse. That's what the sign says. But let's see what the room says, just so you guys know. You might want to know what's going on in this room. You guys seen this room featured on the Ask Coach Greg Adams channel, and people are like, man, what do you got in here, man? This is crazy. This is years of collecting, all culminating into this room. It's one of the smaller rooms of the house. But let me tell you what I got going on here. Let's just go from what? All right, what do you want to know? First of all, when you see the CGA's toy room, you see Masters of the Universe right there, which is featured. And that's one of the reasons that I started collecting, is because I had an affinity with Masters of the Universe. And that's going to be on this side of the wall. And with that being said, there's a trend of something going on called kidulting. You know, they got to name everything, right? Kidulting. So kids being adults, essentially what it happens is what's happening is men my age are able to afford, with discretionary income, to collect some of the things that they wish they collected as a kid. And this is kind of coming full circle. Gary Vee has acknowledged this as something that men are doing. And this is because now more men are single. They're, of course, single and lonely. And they're able to go back into their childhood and think about some of the things that they wanted to buy, and it completes the process. This could be bikes, skateboards, it could be toys, video game systems, and all of that. There's retro video game stores and retro toy stores that are actually, you know, catered towards older people. And with that being said, Masters of the Universe was, in my age, He-Man was the shit. All right, so for me, He-Man is the shit. Now check this out. This was featured on my channel, the Coach Greg Adams channel, when I was doing regular videos. This was back there. And what I started doing at that time was collecting the original Masters of the Universe action figures. And now, as you can see, I put it in a shadow box, and I collected these specific figures and put them in a shadow box. Now, once I started earning a little bit more money, getting more stable, I started reaching in and venturing into these Masters of the Universe original figures. These are the original ones from back in the day, 1983, all the way up until, what, 86? These are the original ones. Some of them are going to be the good figures on the good side of Eternia, and then the bad side of Eternia, obviously. But there's Skeletor, and there's Battle Cat and He-Man, and Cringer, if you will, but Battle Cat, and all the original figures. So these two shelves host my original Masters of the Universe figures. Now check this out. What eventually happened was they released origin figures for Masters of the Universe, and the reason why they released origin figures is because people started buying them, and there was, in a sense, that people were collecting them on eBay. You would have to go on eBay to get the original figures, so they released the origin figures because people were nostalgic about it. And that was mainly because the Revelation figures were coming out, right? They were going to re-release the He-Man story with Teela being the main figure. Whether you agree with that or not, Teela was the main figure. And the Revelations release of the Revelations movie or series on Netflix obviously was going to lead to people being more nostalgic for the origin figures. So no longer did you have to go buy the originals. You still can. And normally you would have to do is buy them from. What happened is, they released this. People got nostalgic about the origin figures, and so I started collecting them when I got into position to collect them. So let me go tell you what's going on here. Up here, you have a combination of the He-Man anime series, the He-Man origin figures, and the original figures up here. And over here, you have also the same thing, but for He-Man. So you have the Skeletor here, which is the main character on the dark side of evil of Eternia, and then you have the He-Man character, who is the hero. In the middle, you have Prince Adam, which is a different Mattel release right there in the middle. And then above that, you have some Mattel releases of specific things for toy collectors right there. The 40th anniversary Masters of the Universe. She-Ra is at the top. I do have several She-Ra dolls. I wasn't too much into She-Ra because as a boy, I was like, what the hell are they doing, bruh? They just made a female He-Man to capitalize on the female potential market. But that's a collector's item, the Princess of Power right there. And there you got Hordak, which was the Skeletor for She-Ra. And then you also have up here some pop figures, which I'm not into, But when they have what I'm looking for, I will collect the pop figures right there. Then you have some other releases of He-Man, another 40th edition, 40th anniversary edition that is similar to this box set, which is a collector's item. I'm not going to go through it today. We can go through it another time. And then you have an original She-Ra doll right there. Okay, so this She-Ra doll over here is the 40th anniversary collection as well. So that's what that is. Then from here up is the original He-Man figures that I bought from eBay. And as I was buying those, the Origin figures came out. And so you have the Origin figures up here. All right, up here. And these are also Origin figures up here for He-Man and Skeletor. Skeletor side, the villain side, if you will, if you're not familiar with the show. You have them upside on this side. All right, all the way down at the bottom, you have a Castle Grayskull, which I had as a kid. This is not the original one from the 80s. This is a Castle Grayskull from the new release of the Castle Grayskull. And I have it set up here at the bottom with potentially one more row here for something else. And then also, you know, when I see things, this is a She-Ra doll from Super 7, not Mattel. Super 7 version. As you can see, she looked like she's a light-skinned She-Ra. And then I believe I just knocked down the Sorcerer, but it's okay. I have a Princess in the Power Mattel release. This is a new one. This is a retro version of She-Ra. So I'm not a big fan of She-Ra, but I do collect it if it's in the series. Let's go over here. Let's go to this area. This is the Mattel release of the Masters of the Universe figures here, and I got a couple that fell down. I gotta fix it, but this is just a preview. Don't worry about it. You have Teela and He-Man up here with some newer characters in the back, and then Orko, Man-at-Arms, and Fisto. Down here, you have obviously the Skeletor side of the army down there with Evil-Lyn, Trapjaw. Beastman is one of the craziest characters released in that one. Beastman, the detail on that one with the fur, he's a real true barbarian and whatnot. You have him back there with Skullgod, Stinkor, and then the He-Man, the fake He-Man with Skeletor right there. Skeletor looking like a G. Down here, you have the Origin figure toys, which would be the vehicle line. Again, I'm not too big on the vehicle line, but you know, they're good for detail and good to keep if you're collecting or displaying, which are two different approaches to collecting. You know what I mean? You got to figure out your lane. Then you have the toys down here. All right, the vehicles down here. All right, down below, I'm going to skip a row. Down below, you have the anime He-Man version characters, which I'm not too keen on collecting. But I found that, you know, sometimes I'll buy them if I see them available and they're at a good price. I will buy them, and there's a lane for them to be collected. On this row, Back to the Future. Obviously, born in the 70s, definitely an 80s kid. Back to the Future is my favorite film series, and I do have collector action figures and model replicas of the DeLorean. So you have Biff, various versions of Michael J. Fox's character, Marty McFly, in different renditions, right? You have them in the 80s from the Back to the Future 1. Then you have Back to the Future 2. Sorry, this is still Back to the Future 1 Marty right here. Then this is Back to the Future 2 Marty. And still Back to the Future 1. And then they did not leave out Doc. Got to keep Doc. Also bigger and smaller versions of those characters and different scales of the DeLorean figures right there with Doc leaning to the side in his flossy ass ride. And then different, anytime I see like a Hot Wheels version of the DeLorean, that's what I'll pick up. All right, this is the Back to the Future episode number 3 version of the DeLorean. So as a collector, that's kind of how I collect. Okay, I'm real specific. I don't go too deep into collection. Sometimes I'll experiment. Sometimes I'll buy something and be like, okay, let me see if I'm interested in collecting it. When we get to DC and Marvel, I'll describe that. But let's head over here. This is the World Wrestling Federation area. Of course, I'm also fascinated as a kid, 1980s kid, going in the 90s and the 2000s and then the mid-teens, 20-teens with wrestling. All right, wrestling was a big deal. I'm an old school wrestling fan. And let's start with the collecting on this side. This is, let's start with the championship belts. I'm big on championship belts, man. Men are big on championship belts. So that's a tag team champion replica That in the back is the United States Championship from the NWA years. This is the World Television Champions. These are the belts that meant stuff to me in the NWA, and then the AWA World Tag Team Championship, mostly worn by the Road Warriors over there. And then I got a championship belt here, another legit replica of the 80s and 90s Tag Team Championship belt, which I loved. That was the tag team era. Then small toy replica of the current, somewhat current, probably in the 20 teens World Championship belt, and then the Tag Team Championship belt. Over here, you also have legit models of Chase CM Punk, which when it came out, I probably could have doubled what I bought for it. So this is also collecting for investment purposes. That's a Chase AEW CM Punk. If you know anything about Chase figures versus regular figures, you might know what it is. We're not going to break it down today. We have a collector edition Macho Man Randy Savage from the WrestleMania 3. That's kind of when he was a breakout star. All right, that's when he really, really broke out. And then you have the Mega Powers exploding right there, which is a collector edition exclusive ringside collectibles exclusive Mega Powers. And they're joining right there. Everybody remembers the handshake if you remember those days. Let's get down here. Let's go to this row right here. These figures aren't in any particular order, but I might try to catalog them in the order. So over here you have wrestling. These are mostly Mattel figures, if not all of them. You have them I kind of grouped them with the type of person it is. You know what I mean? And then I can actually, that's Drew McIntyre, various renditions of Drew McIntyre, Greg Valentine. In the front, Jake the Snake Roberts, various renditions. And then in the back, you can see people are in the back. I might get some lifters for these so these people can be elevated slightly, but there's some people, Rey Mysterio, X-Pac, Bill Goldberg's back there, and so forth and so on. All right, next level here is mostly, I don't know, it's not organized yet. You got the Road Warriors, which would be the Legion of Doom, WWF. Axe, right there, Demolition Axe, and then some other figures there, the Ultimate Warrior. Some new figures, all right, current figures, but I typically go for the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. The newest people, not too much, but of course, in the back, you got, right there, Ricky Steamboat, the Warlord, Stone Cold, Bray Wyatt collection in the back, Triple H connection collection in the back, various forms of Triple H, and various forms of Chris Jericho. Mostly you can't see them, but and then some other figures in the back, Sergeant Slaughter, Colonel Mustafa, and all of that stuff. Head down here, you have the ladies, and I grouped all the ladies together. And as you can see, Mrs. Elizabeth, all right, one of my favorites, Stacy Keibler, right there. Let me see if I can get her focused in. Stacy Keibler, one of my favorites. You got Charlotte Flair, Chyna, all the way in the back. Bianca Belair, I do collect new ones. Trish Stratus, the Miss Elizabeth action figures, Miss Elizabeth in various forms, and as you can see right there, that's what you got. Also in the back, you have certain exclusives for Ultimate figures, which is a more in-depth version of the action figures, if you will. So you got John Cena, Ultimate, Macho Man, Hollywood Hulk Hogan, and Batista. Okay, now going down here, let's elevate down here. This is the LJN releases of the wrestling figures from the 1980s. All right, and so this was my era where the figures are kind of rubbery, they are bounceable, but they don't have any articulation. They don't move. They're automatically posed in this position, so that's kind of the good and the bad when you're playing with them. But for me, I don't care. All right, I display them, so you got the ones that I've always wished that I had when I was a kid. And some of these I had. These aren't the originals. Some of these I bought on the on eBay. So you got Macho Man, Mean Gene, Ricky Steamboat, Hogan, Mr. Wonderful, which is why he's so much bigger than everybody. Bobby Heenan, Roddy Piper, King Kong Bundy, Classy, Freddie Blassie, British Bulldogs in the back with Junkyard Dog. Okay, whole bunch of people. Jimmy Snuka, Hillbilly Jim, Greg Valentine, Brutus Beefcake, the Dream Team. Okay, you got Nikolai Volkov. And all I'm missing, Iron Sheik is in the back. You can't see him. But I'm going to set up my lighting on this one. That's going to be my next project. But it's going to require me to knock all this shit down. I don't know if I'm ready for that. Down here, you got some new releases of Superstars. Okay, mixed in with the Masters of the Universe form versions with WWE. So what Masters of the Universe did, which is Masters of the Universe over there, on their release of their Revelations, they combined with the World Wrestling Federation, as I call it, WWE, and released figures that were characters for Masters of the Universe. It's crazy. But as you can see here, you got Triple H, Rey Mysterio, Ultimate Warrior, Bill Goldberg. You got China has a vision. You got as a version. You got Roman Reigns, Junkyard Dog, Bret Hart, John Cena, all in the back with Andre the Giant in the back, which you can't see. So there's a whole line there. That's a line. And then there's a line right here of WWE superstar characters. There's still some in their boxes. I haven't opened up. But up here, there's some of the loose figures that I have on display. Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, and so forth and so on. See that? There's the collection there. Okay, Ric Flair, Honky Tonk Man, Hogan, and all of that. Down here, the WWE superstars, these are things that are still, I don't figure out how to display them. So they're in their card in packaging. Also, AEW figures over here. I'm not a big AEW fan, meaning I don't watch religiously, so this is why they have nothing on display. But eventually what I'm going to do is probably make 2-level display here so I can fit 2 more rows, maybe disperse these things. Down here, a real Hollywood Hogan autographed belt that I bought from his Venice Beach, not his Venice Beach, but his beach shop in Orlando. All right, some loose figures and some rings for WWE. AEW, I'll probably fill those up with loose figures as I collect. Going up on the other side, you have what I would call, at the time, the lesser known jabroni figures. I know the Usos are there, but this is when they were just trying to start off. And then you have some lesser known guys down here. All right. And then going into people that were making it on top. Okay. Up here, you have The Rock. I have my Rock collection here, which would be Dwayne Johnson, Rocky Maivia collection. Also the Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose collection in the back. Hacksaw Jim Duggan and a Randy Orton section right here. Randy Orton had a lot of releases, and you tend to deal with them, especially if you buy lots and collections. George the Animal Steel featured back there. Up here, you have my era, which would be the golden era of wrestling and mixed in with the NWO. So you have the characters from the 80s. Up here, going into the 90s, Roddy Piper, Paul Orndorff, Hogan, Warrior right here. These are some legends and ultimates. Randy Savage, the NWO, Hogan over here, Rick Rude, Bret Hart, Lex Luger, Ric Flair, and then Ultimate Ric Flair, Ultimate Hulk Hogan, and Ultimate Mr. T, which you can't see too much because there's a reflection there. Ultimate Mr. T. So that's the 80s, early WrestleMania. Up here, CM Punk seems to be the dominant position up here, along with Seth Rollins and Sting. And also, there is Shawn Michaels in the Rockers gear and in his Christian gear, if you will. The New Day, one of the greatest tag team ever, other than Road Warriors and Demolition. And you have a bunch of guys. John Cena's. I got a bunch of John Cena's and Big E Langston's back there. Then up here, you got the big guys, the tall guys, the giants, the 6'9" guys and above. Undertaker, Kane, lots of Undertakers up there. Mark Henry. Also have Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family up there, most of them. And then what else is up there? You got the Giants, Big Show, and the Great Khali, and all of that stuff. Big John Nord or the Berserker and all of that. Boy, we're not even done yet. So now, over here, this is my section. I wasn't going to block this section with another tall thing, but eventually I'm going to need another tall thing, and I'm going to block that window. Right here, you have Lego sets. I'm always going to think I'm going to make these Lego sets. Right now, I have not. I've made a few, but not a lot. But that is the NES Lego set, which is, I don't think it works as a video game, but it is what it is. Down here, you have Lego sets, the Casablanca, White House, okay, Batman vehicles, and then other sets that I know I'm going to get bored at some point. or I want to focus on something, get some therapy. That's some architectural sets there. These are boxes of stuff that I might not collect. I just threw it there. Okay. And down here are my remote control cars that are from the Traxxas line. So I have 3 of them. 2 of them are down here. I have a Ford F-150 truck right here, which for some reason I can't think of the name, but you know what I'm talking about. And then we have a Rustler version of that right there. So for some reason I feel like a dumbass. And my truck is modified like this one. And so when I think it's when I think of the name, my bad, you guys will probably think I'm an idiot, but my truck is Raptor. Raptor. All right, so I call mine a fake Raptor, which is a Fraptor, but this is a Ford F-150 Raptor. All right, sorry about that. I'm not good with names. Let's go over here. This is my Hot Wheels collection. I'm not a big Hot Wheel collector, but I love Hot Wheels. I love the versions of the cars. The particular versions that I collect on the Hot Wheels are going to be the licensed Hot Wheels, which means it's actual manufacturer car, right? It's not like a off-brand, which, you know, they'll just, you know, you guys know what I'm talking about. These are just the license. I like the licensed vehicles. Okay, not the ones that they make up in with the creative name. So these are my licensed vehicle collections right here. I can interchange what I want. I got Ferraris, Lamborghinis, Porsches, Teslas, Volkswagens, trucks, Jeeps, Dodges, Fords. Okay, there's 911s up here, Corvettes, classic cars, muscle cars, and all that stuff. They do have a semi-truck collection right here with some other one. These are the non-licensed version vehicles that I was talking about. You'll typically see those for 99¢ at the store. Same thing with the some of the licensed vehicles, but when they're special, they're more than 99¢. Sometimes they're $5, $10. They can be up to $400 if you order them like special, like you want this particular one, the Tesla truck. Like, you're gonna have to pay for that. You know, you could pay $100 for something like that, maybe even more or less. Tesla's vehicles could be $8, $9, $10. All right, so some of these cars, you know, I don't have any cars that'll worth $400, but that's what it is. And eventually, if you collect, you can probably get into that. These are my carded versions of Hot Wheels that I'll find at the store. I'll buy them, and eventually I'll have a display up of them so I can keep them on my card. All right, so there's various different ways to collect Hot Wheels. There's some that are in these cases here too as well. And then there's these right here. These are kind of like the junk ones, or the ones that I don't like. You know, they're the non-licensed versions of them. And there's ways you can collect Hot Wheels. I'm not a big collector, but I do enjoy them. Okay, sometimes you can keep them in the card and outside the card. You can decide how you want to collect Hot Wheels. Like you can keep them in the card if you want. This is the card right here. So this is a carded version right here. That means it's in the card. Some people only keep their cars in the card. Some people take them out. Some people believe that you keep the value when they're in the card, which is true, right? But sometimes you want to display them outside of the card. And, you know, like putting these on the wall doesn't work, although I'm going to get a place where I can line up like 60 or 70 of these on the wall. I don't particularly think they look good when they're in the card on the wall. This is just a popular, this is just basically how you want to collect. I think they look better outside of the card. But they do lose value if they're a valuable card or car and it's not in the card. And then also the condition of the card. You know what I mean? Collecting is something, bro. Anyway, I do have these as an investment and as a curiosity myself. Not a big comic book reader. I'll describe that later if I have enough battery. But these are graded comic book covers that I either bought off websites or I bought specifically in stores. All right. And I'll pretty much just like the art. This is art. I know it might not seem like art, and you think some stuff like some Basquiat and art festivals, there's got to be some sort of specific art that people call art, but this is art. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of times the cover is the most memorable thing of the comic book. So I like the comic book covers, and it has to have a specific type of art. All right. And so that's what I look for in those. And you could display them on the wall. You can keep them in a box if you want. Doesn't matter. Let's talk about this. The NBA Jam video game. Of course, NBA Jam, this particular video game in my era in high school, middle school, was the game. All right. And it fully functions and it works. And no, you don't have to put coins in. But I might make you give me some coins if you want to play this game. All right. This is one of my latest purchases here. Put it all together and it works. It's been working right now. So there you go right there. And there's 3 versions of the NBA game on this one. But they're all NBA Jam version games. Boy, let's get into this. Over here, this is extra boxes of stuff that I have not got into. All right, I haven't opened those up, but they're mostly WWE figures I find at the store or something like that. See Junkyard Dog, some of the females right here. You got Nia Jax, Hardcore Molly Holly, NWO John Cena. You got Ric Flair. So, you know, as you can see, I'm running out of room here. So what I'm probably going to do is start putting my WWE over here. All right. And what you see over here is DC, Superman, Batman, Black Adam with the Rock version of the Black Adam, the Rock version of the Black Adam. You have back there, you have the Flash and the Green Lantern, Aquaman, Joker, Catwoman, and then smaller versions of DC characters specifically, and then Lego versions of stuff that I put together down here, and Batmobile. So for me, I'm not too emotional about DC like I am WWE, like I am for Masters of the Universe. I'm not that emotional about DC. So I'm thinking I'm going to start putting extra WWE in here, or larger figures. I do have this larger models of you know, like sculpted art versions of more aesthetic action figures, if you will. So that's 1 or 2 things I'm going to have over there. And the same thing with Marvel. I like Marvel. I'm just not emotionally attached to it. So I do have Marvel figures like I do have DC. I'm just not attached to them. Like I'm cool with it, but it is what it is. Getting back to it, you have Thanos down here, and I try to section them off into kind of like how the films work. So you have Asgard, Thor, Odin over here. And then you have the female Thor version of Natalie Portman's character, and that one bad guy, I believe, I can't remember his name, he's in the back. Then you have Thanos along with who else is in here? Spider-Man. These are all the renditions of that version. And gosh, it's sleeping my name. Guardian of the Galaxies and Doctor Strange over here. Then down here is the Black Panther and Captain America. I kind of put Captain America with Black Panther because the shield is made from the what is it, vibranium that was created from Wakanda. All right. And so I'm not very versed in this particular genre. I did watch them, but I'm not emotional about this brand. I'm not emotional about Marvel or DC. But you know, as a kid, I grew up with it, so it is what it is. All right, and then I have this Hulk, Incredible Hulk figurine right here. All right, which is a larger figure about the size of Thanos. I do like Thanos though, but like I said, I'm not emotionally connected to it. So I'm thinking about putting other stuff in here and then putting those things in the closet. All right, so the closet holds a lot of secrets in there. Can't go in there because it's not as organized. But the closet has things in there that I collect or experimented with, or it's keeping stuff that I'm not on display. That has that stuff in the closet. Anyway, you keep the stuff like that in the closet. Let's get over here, which is the last section, which is my desk section. This is my therapy room desk. And eventually, I'm sure this area is going to be gone too, depending on what I collect. But what I do here, let's check it out. All right, so let me sit at the desk. What I do is a lot of times when I'm putting my stands together or I buy new stuff, it starts over here. I'll put the boxes here, and then when I'm putting stuff together, stuff like that, putting action figures on stands, this is where I do it right here. So this is an old desk. I also over here have a comic book collection. I'm not a big comic book reader, but I do like and appreciate the art. And what I receive a mailing of several comics per month. that I receive, and I can't remember what it is, but if I think about it, I'll put it out on here. So anyway, I receive a mailing, and also if I'm at the store, Barnes & Noble's bookstore, and I'm interested in something, maybe exploring it, I will buy versions of this stuff. But I'm just not a big comic book reader, and just to be frank, I'm not really collecting for collecting purposes, right? This is the comic book that was released by our brother on the internet. Of course, I'm trying to remember his name. And anyway, his name is Eric July. Shout out to Eric July. This is his comic book series, #1. Okay, and shout out to him. Trying to think. Big Ripper is his name, something like that. All right, shout out to him. And I had to get it because I was impressed with his ability to do that. And he made a lot of money, and I'm proud of him. Okay, let's see here. These are all kind of Superman and all of these type of things. Harley Quinn. Let me see if I can let y'all see this real quick. All right, the light's not as good, but let me see if you can see what's going on over here. Wonder Woman, Batman, Justice League. That's Masters of the Universe there. Okay, what do we got? Some stuff I really don't know about. New Avengers, Spider-Man. Okay, and I do get these on a monthly mailing. Okay, right there. So who knows, man? I don't know. These probably aren't collectors. Some of them are reprints of old editions of stuff. Most of them are not specific. All right, some are DC, some are Marvel. Well, there's a little thing right there. It looks like Tinkerbell. Bell. I don't know where that's from. But let's see here. Archie. Oh, I got these from a comic book store where I went into the store and I was like, let me just find covers that I like. All right. I mean, they're the actual comic book, but I just wanted to catch the covers. So it's just about experimenting of what you like. I'm not a big comic book collector, just so you know. All right. I think this is the last thing, which are sports cards. Sports cards. This is what I do at this desk. So what I'll do is I'll buy sports cards and I'll try to put a set together. And this is what I do kind of in the summer when things are a little bit slower. But there's baseball, football, basketball. And boy, are these things getting expensive. They're not $25 a pack anymore. They're very expensive. And sometimes you can come up. You can get a come up. If the player's having a good season, you can get a come up. So I'll put the sets together. These are all in order. These are all in order. And I'll put the sets together and all of that stuff. And then I'll buy a new box and new sets of stuff. Anyway, that's what's going on in their various versions of sports cards. Is that it? Yep. Sports card stuff. So anyway, that's the room. I appreciate y'all for letting me share this. Let me know what you think.